Thank you so much, John. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to have you on the Dwelling Show. I know you're not a typical real estate investor, but I think you have so much value to add to our show. I'm so glad to have you on. So let's jump right into it. First question is, you're doing a ton of stuff. I mean, you've got content pumping, you've got Entrepreneur on Fire, literally on fire, like you're doing, great work. What would you say to an aspiring entrepreneur out there just looking to kind of maybe emulate what you're doing or just trying to be successful just in that world?
Well, Olaf, first and foremost, thanks for the intro, brother. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited. I'm fired up. And I can say now, with my show, Entrepreneurs on Fire, I've interviewed 2,000 successful entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of commonalities between successful entrepreneurs. But one thing I'll say is that successful entrepreneurs pick a horse and they ride it. Now, what does that mean? I decided to be the guy doing a daily show interviewing successful entrepreneurs. I did that for 2,000 days in a row. Nobody was willing to work that hard. Nobody's willing to put in that kind of effort for 2,000 days. Nobody's ever done it. That's why I won. What is it that you love to do that fires you up, that excites you, that gives you passion or curiosity that you can do more and better than anybody else? You can outlast them, more consistency. Pick that horse and ride it, and you will win. It's just a matter of time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. Pick your passion, pick your curiosity, blend in some expertise, blend in some skills that you have so you're adding value, and win.
I love that. Pick a horse and ride all the way. I love that. So as an entrepreneur myself, sometimes I get burnt out and I just get I get really low on your creative juices. What do you do to kind of refresh? I mean, 2,000, daily, that is crazy as a podcaster myself. How do you keep your energy going?
Again, it goes back to the core. Like, people burn out, they lose their energy, they lose their focus because they didn't choose the right thing in the first place. They didn't choose something that they truly love. They didn't choose something that they really like. They didn't choose something that they're really curious about. Maybe they just copied somebody, or they said, hey, because John did it or because Ola did it, I'll do it too and I'll find the same success. But no, we're winning at high levels because we love what we're doing. I love getting on calls like this and talking to you. I mean, I'm doing 20 of these calls today, one day a month. I do 20 interviews on other people's shows because I really enjoy having these conversations. I don't get burnt out from this. I get energy from this. I'm an extrovert. I love this stuff. So what's that thing that you just enjoy doing that you can and will do consistently? That's how you'll win.
All right. So you do something really interesting as well. You actually publish how much you make on your website, right? And I remember having this conversation with someone. I was like, and we're looking at your numbers. I mean, first and foremost, why do you do that, right? And secondly, how has that benefited your brand and your business, that level of transparency?
Listen, when I was looking to get into the entrepreneurship game back in 2011, I was searching for entrepreneurs that I felt like were doing it right. People like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Tim Ferriss. And I stumbled across this guy, Pat Flynn, and he has this podcast and website called Smart Passive Income. And he was publishing his income reports. And I said, you know what? Here's a good guy, just a really good dude, a family man, providing a lot of value, making money, and then showing us how he's making money. That inspired me. And guess what? I said to myself, if and when I get to that level where I'm also making money, I want to be that same beacon of hope. I want to show that transparency, give that genuine authenticity of what's working for me, how you can, emulate my successes, what's not working for me so you can avoid my mistakes. So we've been publishing our monthly income report every month for the last 57 months. And we share it all. We bring our accountant on, he shares a tax tip. We bring our lawyer on, he shares a legal tip, and we just have a lot of fun doing it.
Wow, that's incredible. That's totally, totally fascinating. So now you got the business going, right? You're doing pretty well. What do you see for the future? I mean, you're pumping out this content daily. What do you see, the JLD brand look like in the future, in the nearest or distant future?
I have no idea. And I'm really excited about that because I think the world is just changing and iterating and improving so quickly, so fast. I have no idea what the world is going to look like in a year, in 6 months. I don't even know what the world's going to look like tomorrow. So I take pride in just being flexible and being agile and shifting with the times. And For me to sit down and to be too specific about what my next 3, 6, 12, 15, 20 months look like, I might just be wasting time because things might change and change all of that. So I just say, hey, what's working for me right now? And then I look 100 days ahead. That's my limit. I look 100 days ahead. It's exactly why I created the Freedom Journal. Accomplish one goal in 100 days. That's what I do. I have one focus. I crush that focus in 100 days. And then I look around and I reevaluate. And I say, what's happening in the world right now? What can I do now for the next 100 days to put myself in the best position to win?
So, guys like yourself, Gary Vee, there's a lot of young people like myself that are looking at you guys and kind of watching what you're doing, watching different spaces of content creation, but also podcasting and just media in general, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, I want to be like Gary Vee, or I want to be like Lee Dumas, right? What do you say to that?
I say that's an awesome idea because guess what? We are all standing upon the shoulders of giants. I've learned from those that have come before me. You will hopefully learn from those that have come before you. Study people. That's why Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It, so amazing. And I know that you found out about me through that. Like you read chapter 14, which is my chapter, and it told you all about my story, my journey. And you're like, wow, that's really cool. And I bet you had a lot of great takeaways from that. Now I would stress, now that you've learned from people like me, people who have come before you and have had a lot of success, now say, how can I take that and make it mine? Ola. I am an individual. I am unique. I'm different than everybody else. I have a different personality. I have a different attitude. I have different desires on what success means to me, different definitions of what freedom is, and apply that to your journey. Say, I am going to be Ola, and I am going to learn from those that are around me, but apply it to my unique skill set, my unique passions, my unique skills, and make it your own. If I tried to be just like Gary Vaynerchuk, I would fail. If I tried to be just like Tim Ferriss, I would fail. Those are two drastically different people. Gary, extrovert, out of control, million miles an hour, 800-person company. Tim, introvert, doesn't like to be around people for very long. Maybe has one assistant. I mean, it's night and day, these two people, but I learned from both of them and I made the JLD, and I applied both of those learnings and lessons into me, into my personality. Now I have a team of like 9 people. I live down here in the Caribbean in Puerto Rico, and I make a lot of money. I add a lot of value, and I have a lot of fun. And like, that's what I want to do. And I don't want to build an 800-person company. I don't want to be, as recluse as Tim Ferriss can sometimes be. I want to be somewhere in the middle, and that's where I am because that's me. And
Right.
As you're moving on to the next question, I'm going to shift my desk into a standing desk to continue this conversation because I feel like it.
Yeah, I've seen some of those decks. They're really, really cool. You could just like go up and down.
I love it.
Yeah, so so we have a quick round. So before we get to the quick round, I just want to ask one quick question and then we'll go to the quick round. So, like I was saying about the young people, they're looking at you, they're like, oh my God, like look at Lee Dumas is living the life, is living in the Caribbean, like is just like living it up, right? And it looks like he's not doing so much work. I mean, what do you say to that young person looking at their Instagram feed, seeing you or just watching your videos and just thinking it's easy? What do you say to them?
Well, number one, it's not easy. Number one, I have in the past done a lot of work, and I've also done a little bit of work. I'm a big believer in sprints and rests. So I will put my nose to the grindstone and I will do 30 interviews in 2 days. And then I'll do nothing for a couple days. So I love working super hard, taking a long break, going back and forth. So you got to figure out what works for you. Some people just like that slow and steady burn, just put in, 8 to 9 hours of work a day, every single day. For me, maybe a couple 15-hour days in a row, and then a couple days of not doing much of anything work-wise, but just enjoying life and focusing on health and wellness and doing some fun things like traveling. Like myself and Kate are doing a 65-day European trip this coming fall. I won't be doing a ton of work during that trip. I'll be checking in, keeping up on emails, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, doing Instagram stories, so definitely follow me at John Lee Dumas to check that out. But I'm not going to be going overboard. I won't be working a lot, but I can do that because I've worked a lot in the past, and that's key. So I like the sprints. I like the quick focuses.
I love that. I love that so much. So now we're definitely we're dwelling into the quick round. So these are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, first question. What makes John Lee Dumas unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that make me unique. One thing that I really think that makes me super unique is just my personality. Like, I love being high energy. I love laughing. I love not taking things too seriously. Like, a lot of people, when they listen to my podcast, are like, you can't say that on a podcast. Not that I swear or anything, because I don't, but just like, I'm goofy, you know, I'm corny. And I think that's one thing that makes me unique, because a lot of people try to be super professional. They want to do this and they want to do that. If they make a small mistake, they want to delete it. Like, I want to leave that in. Like, I want to be just a normal person who's leading just, you know, a normal life, but it's just being me, making mistakes, having fun, being corny, being funny. And that's what's a little unique about me.
I love that. I love that. Second question. What was the last book that you read? And what was the one thing that you picked, a nugget from that book?
I just actually interviewed this guy because he wrote a book called Lost and Founder. His name is Rand Fishkin. He's the ex-CEO of Moz, which is an SEO company. And he was fired. He was fired from his company that he created back in 2004, just him and his mother, grew into a $45 million a year company, but he was fired. And he was basically fired with almost nothing. He had to go right back to work, because just because he ran a $45 million a year company didn't mean that he was making any money. He was making $167,000 a year. Like, I make that in a month. And like, here he is, the founder of, you know, and I keep that in my pocket every single month. And he was making that as a salary over the course of a year and having to pay taxes on that. So he's maybe netting $80,000, $90,000 a year. Living in downtown Seattle, he's like, I don't have any money. I got to go back to work. I have a couple $100,000 in savings. This is a guy that's almost 50 years old, you know? And so I was just like, man, it just shows you this story they tell you about founders of companies and, you know, Silicon Valley and running a company that's making 30, 50, $100 million a year. That does not mean that that founder or anybody in that company is making any money. Why do you think Gary Vaynerchuk goes around and speaks for $100,000 a pop all the time? Because he's not making that much money as a CEO of VaynerMedia. I mean, he's playing the long game there. He's taking the money that he makes, that company earns, and he's putting it back into the company. That's smart. That's very smart.
Oh, fascinating. I got to check that book out. Fascinating. Last question. You kind of touched on it anyways. So, you know, you've got obviously Entrepreneur on Fire going, you're pumping out content, like I said, you're doing a bunch there. What do you do for fun?
Not much. That's kind of interesting. You know, I really don't have one of those like passions that are not work. Like, I don't like to golf or to surf or to do any of those things. I definitely go on long trips, I like to travel. So I definitely travel. I say one of my passions, and I really do find this fun because I feel like our body is the most amazing like mechanism in the world. And so I love exercising. Like, I love working out. I love trying to eat right and really kind of tweaking things about my diet, about my workouts to really kind of be the best person that I can be. Because I'm 38 years old. You know, I'm no spring chicken. Like, if I want to keep, you know, leading the kind of life that I want to lead, I've got to be very smart and intentional about all that stuff. So that's kind of my main focus, and my main passion is, you know, definitely going on some long, epic, great trips. Like, again, I'm going on a 65-day, 13-country trip in Europe this fall. That's going to be awesome. But at the same time, like, on a day-to-day, like, how can I eat healthier for my body? How can I work out better for my body? And like focusing on that stuff.
I love it. I love it. So if one of the Dwell listeners listening to us and they're like, I love John Lee, you know, maybe they haven't heard of your brand yet, how can people reach out? How can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Well, there you are right there, EOFire.com. That is the headquarters, EOFire.com. We have a lot of free training for entrepreneurs there. My one call to action, though, is I am just launching June 1st of 2018. So it's likely live right now when you're listening to this. I am launching a completely free course. It's called 3 Hours to Your Big Idea. Because again, the biggest struggle I see entrepreneurs have is they don't know what their big idea is. So take my training. In 3 hours, you will have your big idea. And then you'll be off to the races, and it's free. So just visit yourbigidea.io.
Awesome. We're going to have that in the show notes. John Lee, I know you're super busy. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Take care, brother.
All right. Take care.